Another week of sim racing, another big event, and more drama. Sim racing just can't get away from it at the moment. Thankfully, this isn't about disconnections, red flags. It's not even about my incident into T1 with less than 3 hours remaining. Oh, that hurt, guys. It hurt. This is about the top echelon of sim racing once again, and exploiting the system for their own gain, and asking the question, does sporting integrity exist in sim racing, and is it just win at all costs? Let's dive into it, see what has unfolded over this weekend in the Daytona 24, and yeah, unpackage what's happened. So, let's start with exactly what has caused this drama online from the Daytona 24 this weekend. Well, for anyone who hasn't got Twitter, Williams esports driver Alexander Spets, one of the top 5 highest iRating driver on the platform. He has over 10k iRating. Absolutely phenomenal achievement, and he is a damn right quick driver. Races predominantly in LMP2 and the LMDH car now, and he qualified in pole position in top split. To be expected, really. He's a really quick driver, and you may be asking, well, what's the issue there? Well, it's the manner in which he qualified. As you saw from the clip at the start of this video, he pretty much achieved this by entirely driving on the apron at the circuit, wherever it was possible. Now, you may be asking, what's the issue here? Why isn't that allowed? Well, the best way to describe the apron is on an oval circuit, it's just like your hard shoulder on a motorway. It's a lane that is clearly marked and only used for instances where you need to pull over safely if you have a breakdown or issue, or you need a toilet break and just need to get out of the way of moving traffic and cause no disruptions. It is not to be used for general use in normal circumstances, and it is illegal to do so. Now, iRacing clearly identifies this specific rule in their set of sporting regulations. They are always repeating this before the Daytona 24, or at least a few years that I've been participating in this event, because while this circuit is technically a road course, it is on Daytona, which is an oval circuit. The road course in itself still has 60 to 75% of it on the oval. The percentage is probably not correct there, but it's a fair amount on the oval section. And of course, if you've only ever raced road courses before and never touched an oval circuit, the apron might look quite tempting. It's a flat surface. Why can't I use it? So they just put it out there so that everyone is reminded that it's only got a specific use. Now, where the controversy comes in regards to this apron, however, and of course Alexander Spets' use of it in qualifying, is that the usage of the apron, while the rule states that it's not there to be used for an advantage or an advantageous reason, it does not warrant an incident point on the track. Other than a couple of cones placed at quite long intervals on the apron, there is no deterrence from using it in the game. There is no in-game punishment, and that's the key here, because Top Split doesn't have live stewarding, which we'll come to at the end of this video. So there's no race control, there's no live stewarding dishing out in-game punishments. There's no off-track system for the apron to invalidate your qualifying runs, which happens at every other circuit, and there's no one to monitor it during the race. The only way you can be punished is after the race has finished through the protest system. The protest system only allows you to make a protest once the race has finished, where you go into the UI or you go into the website and you're able to upload a clip, obviously your evidence, give backup reasoning for why this person has broken the regulations. So this exploit is only punishable if other drivers go through that process post-race, which many people do not do. I'll admit, I have said a number of times that I was going to protest people from some dodgy stuff they've done, and I just forgot to do it, didn't get around to doing it because it's post-race. it's not happening during the race. So this is the issue of Alexander Spets, because he has knowingly used this exploit to gain an advantage that he knows will be punishable only after the race. And why is this particularly important? Well, at this moment in time, it is quite widely considered that Alexander has been given a ban. He is not accessible to view on the top active drivers on iRacing, which indicates that he's been dished out a ban because he does have, I assume, a current subscription. Now, this is either due to a number of protests post-race, or iRacing have done this upon their own accord, seeing kind of the outrage and traction this has gained online by his actions. But Williams Esports won the Daytona 24 with a driver that has been banned. It has been acknowledged that he broke the sporting regulations, he broke the rules, yet Williams Esports haven't been disqualified. They still have won the Daytona 24 as official results stand. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but to me, that's mad. How is that allowed? What's the point? What is the total point? Because they've broken the rules and their result is able to stand, which means that future teams are going to use exploits and know that, oh, well, only one of our drivers is going to get a week ban on iRacing. Our official result will still stand. Yay! Where's the deterrence? There's no deterrence whatsoever, and iRacing needs to be stronger. What is it with racing bodies and not dishing out penalties retrospectively? They're so scared. They're so scared to do it. Now, this brings us back to the question that I put to us at the start. Does sporting integrity even matter anymore? Is it just win at all costs for these esports teams? Well, the team manager at Williams Esports clearly thinks it's win at all costs. He was replying to a tweet that Tony Kanaan, Indy 500 winner and Daytona 24-hour winner too, who is also a very prominent and passionate sim racer / iRacer, he wasn't too happy with what Alexander had done and vented his frustration on Twitter. The Williams Esports manager replied with, "They may have obligations to win races for the partners and brands that invest in them. If the game allows it, they take it, or they are open to being outplayed by others using the same exploit. And that lastly, the game needs to be stricter." That says quite a lot in one tweet, doesn't it? Clearly shows that not much integrity there, if you ask me. But this has opened up the question, because there is an argument on both sides here, for and against what Alexander did. There's an argument that iRacing should have had stricter in-game restrictions, as the Williams Esports manager has said, and that racers will try and gain every advantage that they can on their opponents, just like how we see in real life racing as well. People will push the boundaries to the limits, push the rules to the limits until they are enforced. We've seen that in plenty of racing disciplines. But this time around, unlike the grass dipping exploit that happened in the Spa 24 hours, that was something to see, wasn't it? iRacing here have issued an apron rule and have had this in place for quite some time. Now, this even means that Williams Esports didn't know the rules, which is negligence on their part, because they should know the rules inside and out, especially when they're racing at such a high level that they are. And I'm sure that they probably have monetary reasons and rewards for winning this event, or they broke them and took the risk anyway, because winning outweighs the punishment that's been dished out, because really there is no punishment, is there? They've still got the win. It still goes down on the record that they won, and those drivers particularly won that event. It's only races within the next week that Alexander can't compete in. Oh, what a shame. Real punishment now. I must admit, iRacing, you need to be tougher. You need to put your foot down. because this is something that needs to be addressed now, because otherwise, as sim racing is getting larger, as it's becoming more mainstream, these exploits are going to be used by these teams moving forward. And we as sim racers want this to be taken seriously. And we also don't want what happens in top split by the fastest drivers to be replicated in the lower splits, because it happens. 100%. I have seen people replicate what the fastest drivers do because they want to be as fast as them. They're role models in a sense. So it's not just the top echelon of drivers that this affects. This affects everyone further down the platform as well. And not as everyone is on the ball when it comes to protesting stuff that happens, and you're only going to affect the enjoyment of people racing on your platform. But going back to the esports manager, regardless of what decision they made in regards to if they knew about the rules or they didn't and decided to risk them, it's a L take by that manager. And I hope the guys at Williams and the brands supporting them take the stance that sporting integrity matters and means so much more than the win. There is definitely a lot of value, in my opinion, in regards to how you win a top level event, especially if it has lots of eyes on it, especially when you're representing the brands and the teams that you're a part of. Yes, they want to win, but they don't want to be, in essence, seen to be cheating to win, because that's what a lot of people are seeing it as. Yes, it's not just an exploit, it's seen as a form of cheating. But it seems that, unfortunately, some brands are taking the same approach as a team manager, congratulating them. And yes, while it is an achievement to win a 24-hour race, and qualifying is only a very small element and factor of a 24-hour race, you still started pole and got that advantage to start off with. I bet you if you asked any of the top teams, would they have wanted pole position? They would have bit your hand off for it. So lastly, how can iRacing fix this issue, future exploits, from happening again? Well, there's two easy answers for me. And one we've already mentioned, that they need to disqualify Williams. And any team, for that matter, any individuals, but I think teams as a whole, they need to disqualify who used this exploit in qualifying. It would set an example, and it would mean that even if there's an exploit that appears during the session of a special event race, because it's possible there's errors and glitches that happen in games, unfortunately, and they can't necessarily be fixed on the spot. It means that if a known exploit or a discovered exploit is used, then there will actually be proper ramifications to using it, and will deter these guys to stay within the track limits and just race how it should be, fairly and properly within the rules. And secondly, the one that people have been asking for God knows how long now, live stewarding. We need live stewards in the top splits. And now, I'm never going to be in top split. Never. I don't have the time. I'm not quick enough. I know my ability. I'm quite happy being in 8th split. But for these events, and just for the integrity of sim racing as a whole, and a fan of sim racing, because I do watch these top splits, live stewarding would just stop all of this, and would just stop that. It would just be a deterrence from the get-go. It would be. And to see live stewarding at these top split events where the esports teams are taking them so seriously, they put a lot of value on them, and I think iRacing should put more value on it as well. Put the personnel aside to live steward these events so that there are in-game punishments and penalties dished out. It also adds to the realism factor as well, that the top split has a live control team, race control team, live stewarding, and will actually make people even more determined to get up to top split, because they know that they've got a more organised event and race ahead of them. So overall, this is a shame that I'm even talking about this, because I hate to be talking about stuff that people have done wrong. I'd much rather be celebrating, which is what I'm going to do now at the end of this video, end it off on a high, and celebrate the achievement that was Daytona 24, because iRacing, You smashed it out of the park, guys. Well done, because after the debacle that was the virtual Le Mans, the previous weekend on R Factor 2, you had a lot to live up for. There was a lot of pressure on you guys for things not to go wrong. And you had over 16,000 entrants over the 3 time slots on the weekend. And I tell you what, I think that's the fastest I've ever loaded into a session. That scheduler was just definitely overclocked. Because I really expected there to be a slight delay into getting into the session, and it was almost instantaneous. I had no disconnects, didn't hear of anyone disconnecting, especially in my split or just generally across the Twitter and online anyway. And you really showed how to host a sim racing event. Of course, there were some slight netcode issues, which I'm going to discuss in a future video, but Motorsport Games, was you watching that this weekend? That's how it's done. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. What do you think of this whole situation? Let me know in the comments below. I'm intrigued to hear your thoughts. Do you disagree? Do you disagree? I want to see what side of the coin you decide to be on. So, yeah, remember to hit that like and subscribe button, turn those notifications on, and I'll see you for the next one. Bye.